Revealed, my brother gave up everything. They gave him an incredible act of love for me. Jess Carter slumped over her dining room table, the glow of her laptop revealing the sharp creases of worry on her brow. Her dreams of becoming a scientist felt less like aspirations and more like weighty anchors pulling her under. Tuition at a prestigious university loomed large, a mountain of student debt chained to her upon graduation. The disapproval she felt from her peers, those who labeled her dreams as unrealistic, stung deeply. Those words echoed in her mind, making her question her own worth. Yet, the unconditional support from her brother Mike, a high school dropout who toiled away in a backbreaking job, fueled her resolve. He had sacrificed so much to provide her a chance, but how much more could he give? While deep in her thoughts, Jess wandered into Mike's workshop, drawn by an unsettling intuition. There, in the corner, the glint of something unseen caught her eye. Curiosity pulled her closer until she opened a dusty old box tucked under a workbench. Inside lay bundles of cash, meticulously wrapped and hidden away as if it were treasure, his treasure. Her breath hitched. Had Mike been saving for her tuition without telling her? A surge of illicit triumph coursed through her veins, quickly followed by stabs of guilt. Did this mean he was willing to forego his dreams completely? The day, overcast with uncertainty, took a dark turn when news arrived about a job opportunity for Mike, a chance that could shift their lives. It came at the right moment, against the odds, and yet, Jess faltered. What if he takes it? Panic crackled in her chest like static. Could she be selfish enough to let him pass it up? The conflicting emotions confused her. The idea of him finally pursuing his potential while she remained a burden alternated between comfort and betrayal, igniting a whirlwind of anxiety. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, the thought of Mike shoving aside his own chance at happiness to support her sent her mind racing. Disheveled and torn, she buried herself deeper into her studies. Every page she turned felt heavier, burdened with the weight of unfinished moments. With each achievement came a sharp pang of realization she was climbing the ladder he had propped up, yet he remained stuck at the bottom. Was her success built upon the ruins of his aspirations? Anguish twisted in her gut, demanding she confront him, yet fear held her back. Moments of clarity emerged among the chaos when she uncovered an inheritance of innovators in her family, a legacy of brilliant minds who had once transformed their small town. The ghosts of their dreams seemed to beckon her, asking if she would fulfill not just her own aspirations but also the unrequited ambitions of those who bore her name. Jess felt the pulse of connection binding her to their destiny. Torn apart, she realized the complexity of their relationship was now knotted into a single question: could she chase after her dreams without dragging Mike's sacrifices into the depths of regret? The air around her thickened with unspoken words, a charged space where love and sacrifice collided. Jess felt the walls of their small home closing in, leaving little room for clarity. She stood on a precipice, her heart racing with the weight of two diverging paths that threatened to intertwine, unsure if the love they shared would sustain them both or shatter them beyond repair. Would she confront Mike about his reticence, or would she move forward, carrying both their dreams, trying to reconcile the impossible? In the silence that surrounded her, the question echoed louder and louder, as the hunt for an answer began anew. Jess's mind spun with a cyclone of thoughts as she prepared to face the reality of their situation. She paced the tiny kitchen, her heart drumming against her ribcage. The usual warmth of the space felt suffocating, each breath coming with the gravity of consequence. She knew she had to speak to Mike. Avoiding the looming conversation would only prolong the tension between them, like an unbending rope threatening to snap. The flickering flame of her resolve met the harsh light of doubt. How could she ask her brother about the bundles of cash? Would that only deepen the wounds of sacrifice he had endured? She thought about the job opportunity he had stumbled upon. It was a doorway not just for him but for them both. What if Mike's taking that leap meant the end of her own academic aspirations? Conversely, what if it was the chance they both needed, his career igniting hers? Deciding to confront him came with an unexpected surge of determination. More than anything, she wanted clarity. She didn't want to live under the weight of her brother's unspoken dreams any longer. Jess took a deep breath, mentally preparing herself for the conversation that felt like an avalanche waiting to happen. Later that evening, the tension mirrored the brewing thunderstorm outside. She found Mike seated at the worn-out couch, a faint glow from the television flickering in the dimness. His brows were furrowed in concentration as he scrolled through job listings, yet he still sensed her presence as she lingered at the edge of the living room. "Hey, Jess, what's up?" He looked up, his eyes quizzical. This was the moment, the urgency surged within her. "Can we talk?" Her voice cracked, a tremor signaling her vulnerability. Mike's expression shifted, morphing from casual interest to concerned anticipation. She settled across from him, consciously choosing to soften her gaze, letting the delicate angles of their relationship dictate her tone. "I found something in your workshop today." The honesty of her admission coupled with the uncertainty of what came next made her pulse quicken. "What was it?" His brows knitted tighter as he braced himself. Taking a breath, she continued, "It was cash. A lot of it. I think you've been saving it for me." The admission hung in the air, heavy and almost accusatory. Mike's face paled. "Jess, I know, let me finish." The urgency gripped her. "I can't bear the thought of you sacrificing your dreams for mine. There's a job opening for you, something great. I don't want you to pass up on it." The raw honesty of her words cut through the storm, revealing fears ripe with unvoiced intentions. His eyes darkened, revealing a vulnerability she had never seen before. "I thought I was doing this for you. I thought you needed time to focus." Opening her mouth to respond, Jess hesitated, feeling the weight of his dedication crash against her independence. "But at what cost, Mike? If I succeed while you give up everything, how can I even enjoy it? I need us both to have our chances." Silence enveloped them, the air thick with unspoken truths. Mike's jaw tightened, and Jess braced herself for a potential downturn. Would they emerge from this moment weaker or stronger? Finally, he spoke, his voice a gravelly whisper. "What if I don't know how to put myself first?" A pang shot through Jess, knowing this was more than a matter of dreams, it was a matter of identity. This moment was pivotal, she felt it in every inch of her. She could either let this revelation drive a wedge between them or become a catalyst for their growth. Jess leaned in, her heart racing with fresh resolve. "Then let me help you find that path, Mike. We can do this together." As they shared a moment of uncertain hope, the storm outside raged on, echoing the tumult within. Little did she know that navigating this terrain would soon reveal the hidden strengths they each possessed. Yet, in the depths of that shared moment, another thought bubbled beneath the surface. Was this truly about dreams, or was it about more profound truths that lingered both unsaid and unexplored? The journey of discovery had only just begun. The air remained thick with potential as Jess released her breath, easing back into the couch, uncertain yet resolute. The storm outside matched her mood, a chaos of flickering shadows and sharp breaths. The lines on Mike's forehead deepened as he processed her words, moments ticking by like dull hammers echoing against steel. They were at a crossroads, a nexus point where dreams intermingled and identities hung in the balance. "We can't keep putting each other first," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. A lump formed in her throat, the weight of expectations heavier than before. The struggle that surged through her was palpable, she was confronted with the reality of their sacrifices. "Are you sure?" His gaze bore into hers, searching for certainty. "What if I take that job, and you fall behind?" Jess shook her head, her thoughts pacing faster than her heart would allow. "I won't let that happen, Mike. We're stronger together. It could be the push we both need." The thought sent an electric thrill down her spine, and she realized how much she craved this shared journey. It was no longer about either of them stepping aside, it was about leveraging their strengths alongside each other. You have always had to be the one to make sacrifices, Jess continued, desperation weaving through her words. I want to be comfortable moving ahead if it comes at your expense. Your career is as important as mine. She had to convince him that dreams mattered more when they were shared rather than stifled. Mike stared at her, brows knitted in contemplation. What if I don't make it? What if I'm just not good enough? His vulnerability struck Jess like a wave. It was easy to forget, in those moments of sheer determination, that beneath the surface, Mike struggled with deep-rooted fears that had prompted him to shield her from the consequences of their shared past. You are more than good enough, she affirmed, her voice steadying as she grew more passionate. Each word felt like a soft embrace for his insecurities. Since we were kids, you've always been there to catch me when I stumbled. Maybe it's time for me to help you fly. His gaze softened, a flicker of hope igniting behind the shadow of self-doubt. I don't know if I can just take that leap. The reality of the unturned page bore heavily on him, the fear of the unknown palpable in the charged atmosphere. You want to be alone, she pressed, leaning forward. You have me, just like I have you. Let us lean on each other. I believe in you, and I need you to believe in yourself, too. The silence crackled with potential. Mike's breathing slowed, the rhythmic rise and fall echoing a more profound understanding. Jess could see the gears in his mind turning, contemplating the risks and rewards of changing direction. I guess I've always been afraid that if I chase my dreams, I'll end up failing and dragging us further down, he murmured, the admission a tender confession in the dim room. Jess knew that was the heart of the matter. A dark realization crept over her. The stakes of success or failure were not just personal, they reverberated back and forth between them. It made her reflect on her moments of hesitation and fear. Failures happen to everyone, they don't define us, she said softly. What defines us is what we do next. We rise together or we fall together. That's the deal. In the depths of their conversation, a burgeoning sense of strength began to form between them, a web of mutual trust. Jess sensed it, a shared understanding solidifying with every exchanged word. The path forward would be rocky, laden with uncharted challenges, yet they could face it together. But the unshaken truth was, within that guidance, they both needed to unearth their individual potential. Let us look into that job, she proposed. Together. We can prepare applications, role-play interviews. Whatever it takes. Just, promise me you'll let this opportunity in. The rest of the night was spent woven in the rhythm of their aspirations, both hesitant and hopeful. Mike began to crack open the door. A possibility, her words gently nudging him toward belief in himself. Amid laughter and shared vulnerability, a shared resolve emerged. Yet, as they drifted into uncertain sleep, Jess couldn't shake one persistent thought: what awaited them when they pushed beyond their fears? Would breaking those walls of doubt lead to their ultimate triumph, or had they merely masked deeper issues that still demanded confrontation? Unbeknownst to both, another storm brewed on the horizon out in the world, outside the comforts of home. What had begun as a delicate balance between two lost souls now hinted at a looming clash of realities, testing not just their resolve, but the very fabric of their bond. As the morning light seeped through the curtains, painting the room in shades of soft amber, Jess sat on the edge of the couch, lost in thought. The chaos of the previous night seemed to drift on the breeze like the remnants of a fading dream. She had felt a shift, a fray in the fabric of her own fears. The commitment ignited between her and Mike had charged their shared ambitions with hope, yet uncertainty prickled at her mind. Was it enough to drown out the whisper of doubt? She glanced at Mike, still sleeping peacefully. His brow unfurrowed and breathing steady, but she wondered how long that tranquility would last. Soon, the day would demand decisions, action, and a reckoning with the ambitions they had only dared to touch lightly before. Jess rose, her mind racing as she poured herself a cup of coffee. She needed direction, a strategy to fortify both their careers. Igniting the spark in Mike felt paramount, but deep within, she realized she couldn't neglect her own aspirations in the process. It was more than just supporting him, it was about cultivating her path firmly alongside his. So began her day of planning. After a quick shower, Jess sat at the dining table with her laptop open. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, seeking opportunities in the industry she had long aspired to penetrate fully. Each search brought a surge of determination. As she combed through job descriptions, she visualized her potential, recognized her worth, and dared to imagine a future where she wasn't just a participant but a leader in her chosen field. But it wasn't easy. Each opportunity she eyed felt like a challenge, a test of her resolve. Questions flooded her mind. Was she ready for this level of responsibility? Were her skills sharp enough? Deep-rooted insecurities nagged at her like shadows trailing in the wake of a tumultuous storm. She wrestled with her fears until finally, she settled on a position that embodied everything she wanted to achieve and more. Was this the leap she needed to take? With newfound resolve, she crafted her application, pouring her ambitions into words. Encouraged by her progress, Jess felt the adrenaline of possibility coursing through her veins. Yet, as she hit send, a wave of doubt crashed over her. Would this opportunity come at the cost of their shared dream? Was she placing herself in front of Mike's aspirations, returning to the mindset she had promised to abandon? The internal conflict fueled her as she paced the room, hands running through her hair. Jess resolved to speak openly with Mike about her ambitions, dreading the potential clash of expectations. But in that moment of reckoning, another bold resolve formed. If she wanted to support Mike fully, she needed to rise, too. Her failures didn't define her, they were marks of growth, lessons she had learned along the way. After some time, she returned to the couch, withdrawing deep within her thoughts. This was not an easy conversation to navigate. She rehearsed words and phrases, hoping to encapsulate her growth, hoping that Mike would understand that she was not stepping on his dreams but rather weaving their futures together into a shared tapestry. When Mike finally stirred, Jess was ready, heart pounding as she sought to articulate her feelings. She smiled at him, trying to project confidence to mask her own uncertainty. "Morning," he murmured, yawning as he sat up, a hint of confusion clouding his eyes. "Hey, I've been thinking," Jess began, the words catching in her throat but determination rising as she pressed ahead. "It's time we talked about what we both want and how we can chart a way forward together." As the words hung in the air, she sensed the weight of the moment. It could lead to a rich conversation about their dreams or plunge them back into the chasm of doubt. But Jess was ready. It was a decision, a willingness to confront uncertainties with newfound clarity. Before she could continue, however, her phone buzzed, interrupting the fragile atmosphere. An email notification flashed on the screen, an invitation to a networking lunch. With industry leaders she barely dared to dream of meeting. This was the opportunity she had sought, the first thread in the tapestry of their shared career advancements. Mike's gaze drifted to the screen, a glimmer of intrigue in his eyes. Jess could see it, a spark of ambition mirrored in his expression that urged her to rise further. But the question remained, would this opportunity be the catalyst for growth, or a moment that could unravel everything they had begun to build? The moment loomed, charged with potential. How would they face it as individuals and partners? The tension in the air thickened as Jess stared at her phone, the invitation shimmering with possibility yet laced with anxiety. A networking lunch. This was not just any gathering, it was steeped in opportunity, the kind that could elevate her career beyond her wildest expectations. Yet, as excitement flickered within her, the weight of uncertainty laid heavy on her chest. Would embracing this chance threaten the delicate balance she and Mike were still trying to establish? "Who's that from?" Mike's voice broke through her thoughts, a subtle curiosity in his tone. Jess hesitated. This was the moment she had prepared for, the culmination of her internal struggle. She needed to remain transparent, to merge her ambitions with their shared aspirations. "It's an invitation to lunch with some industry leaders," she said, trying to keep her tone light despite the gravity of her words. Mike raised an eyebrow, a blend of admiration and concern washing over his features. "That's incredible, Jess. You should go." "But what about us?" The words slipped out before she could reel them in, and she watched as Mike's expression shifted slightly. "I mean, I don't want to step in front of your goals. I thought we were growing together." His eyes narrowed the tiniest bit, brows knitting together in contemplation. "What do you mean?" She opened up, articulating the doubts that clouded her mind. I'm afraid that pursuing this could mean leaving you behind, or that I'll take away from what we're trying to build together. I don't want to compromise either of our dreams. Mike leaned back, looking at her intently, his face softening as he considered her words. Jess, we're on the same team here. Your success doesn't take away from my success. It strengthens both of us. She felt a flicker of hope, but the nagging thought loomed stubbornly, was it really that simple? Realizing the conversation could spiral, Jess took a breath, grounding herself in the moment. Do you think I should take this chance? Absolutely. It's everything you've worked for. You deserve it, Mike replied, his voice steady. Just like I deserve to chase my own opportunities. This isn't a race, it's a partnership. Let us embrace what we both want. Determined resolve flared within her. There was a new clarity, an understanding issuing from his words like a call to arms. She needed to pursue her ambitions. Not just for herself, but for them as a couple. This was not about competition, it was about cooperation. As she contemplated her decision, Jess scanned the email once more, her heart racing with exhilaration. Aligning their ambitions could indeed forge a stronger bond if she approached it thoughtfully. Maybe this wasn't merely a lunch, it could be a launching pad toward a more ambitious life for them both. What time does it start? Mike asked, breaking her reverie. It's in 3 hours. I have to prepare, Jess replied, excitement lacing her tone. There was no time for self-doubt now, it was time to embody the confidence she had been cultivating. Grabbing her notepad, Jess transitioned into her planning phase. Lists surged forth, questions to ask, ideas to share. Every moment became a strategic opportunity for her professional growth. Yet, her mind also lingered on Mike, hoping for a reciprocal wave of ambition to wash over him. As she began writing her notes, Mike studied her with a look of irritation that perplexed her, breaking her focus. Jess, he hesitated, his voice low, I need to be honest. She stopped, sensing the change in energy. What is it? I don't want to hold myself back, but I feel overwhelmed. The admission hung in the air, vulnerable and raw. Every time you make a decision that leans towards success, I feel this increasing pressure. The frustration of me not being where I should be. What if I'm not enough? That confession struck deeply, her own self-doubt reflected in Mike's words. The questions churned in her mind like a tempest. How could she support him in this moment? How could they navigate the storm of aspirations that each one held while solidifying their unity? And just like that, the path ahead grew more complex. Each step towards their dreams now required negotiation and honest self-reflection. Their values as individuals were intertwined, creating a web of support, but also the reality of their vulnerabilities. Jess felt an unexpected surge of empathy for Mike. They were in this together, entangled in hopes and fears. It would take unity, not just on the surface but deep within. I want us to rise together, Mike. But I can't fix everything for you, she said gently, aware that her own aspirations were now integrally linked to his journey as well. The time has come to face not just our individual career dilemmas, but the truth about what binds our ambitions together, Mike replied, the weight of his words anchoring them in shared purpose. Yet, amidst this revelation, Jess couldn't shake the feeling that once again, choices loomed ahead. Would they emerge stronger, or would the struggle continue to haunt them? The quiet stretched, heavy with unspoken thoughts, as Jess's resolve hardened. She had to dive headfirst into this meal with industry leaders, but a deeper confrontation lay ahead between her ambition and Mike's turmoil. And as she steeled herself for the day, questions flooded her mind. Could they truly find their footing as equals in the face of personal struggle? Would their partnership withstand the challenges ahead, both individually and collectively? Just then, her phone buzzed again, another unexpected email notification illuminating the screen. Was the universe throwing more surprises at her, or was there a chance that further complications awaited just around the corner? Jess's heart raced at the thought of what this newfound tension might unravel next. Jess's heart raced as she blinked at the email notification. The subject line jumped out at her: opportunity awaits. She clicked open, eager yet apprehensive, her mind aware of excitement and panic. The message was from a renowned mentor in her field, someone she had admired for years. This was a rare invitation, an offer to join an exclusive cohort focused on career advancement and mentorship. The weight of the decision pressed heavily against her chest. Could this be the stepping stone she needed? The validation she craved? Yet, the silent conversation with Mike lingered, reminding her that every choice could ripple through both their lives. In a moment of introspection, Jess realized her response to this invitation couldn't just encompass her aspirations, it needed to consider both of them. The coherence of their partnership depended on it. She decided to reach out to her mentor for further details, hoping to explain her situation, questioning the balance amid personal and professional realms. She typed and deleted sentences, agonizing over how to convey her desire while remaining sensitive to Mike's feelings. Finally, she hit send. Would a positive response lift her spirit or add weight to their already intricate balancing act? As the hours ticked by, Jess threw herself into preparation for the networking lunch. Carefully, she mapped out conversation starters for each attendee. This wasn't just about getting business cards, it was a mission to forge connections that could lead to future opportunities. Each note she penned ignited a spark within her, but the anticipation simmered with insecurity. Was she ready to walk into a room filled with brilliant minds, or would self-doubt overshadow her? When the time came, she dressed intentionally, slipping into an outfit that embodied professionalism yet felt comfortable. She took one last glance in the mirror, adjusting her collar, searching for a semblance of confidence in her reflection. "Just be yourself," she whispered, an attempt to dispel the chopping sea of nervous energies within her. The venue was buzzing with vibrant conversations and the clinking of glasses. As she entered, the scent of freshly catered cuisine wrapped around her like a warm embrace. She spotted the organizers and made her way over, assessing the room. Tech moguls and innovators filled the space, each one more established and renowned than the last. Suddenly, the realization sank in: this was a golden opportunity. Yet, as she originally feared, the specter of Mike's earlier vulnerability echoed in her mind. She couldn't shake the thought that while she pursued her career breakthroughs, he was grappling with his own insecurities. With each handshake and smile she exchanged, a nagging question lingered: was she doing this for them both, or was she merely building a future solely for herself? Jess partnered up with a fellow attendee she had met at a previous conference. Their dialogue flowed easily, ideas sparking as they discussed industry trends. They began brainstorming ways to collaborate, and excitement ignited between them. This was exhilarating. The conversations challenged her thinking and creativity, pushing her limits. But amidst the discussions, a moment of realization struck: could she risk her nurturing side for ambition? Wasn't good leadership a balance of both? Was she neglecting her inherent ability to support and uplift when her focus narrowed too much on her success? When the lunch wound down, Jess felt a surge of enthusiasm for the connections she made and the ideas forged. However, the internal struggle had not subsided. A decision loomed: to embrace her growing ambitions while ensuring that Mike felt equally valued within the partnership. Leaving the venue, Jess's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it and faltered another email from her mentor. The words "congratulations" and "welcome" caught her breath. The opportunity she sought was finally hers. The weight of ambition began to feel like a tangible presence, one that would require careful navigation moving forward. Suddenly, she felt torn anew. This was a watershed moment. It could either bridge the gap between her and Mike or create a rift that spiraled into uncertainty. As the vitality of possibility surged through her, she questioned how they would redefine their partnership in the wake of her success. Where would they land in this evolution of their dreams? And more shocking a thought surfaced: unbidden, did success mean forfeiting the essence of what they had hoped to build together? Jess's heart raced at the impending confrontation with Mike. How would he react to her newfound triumph? For a split second, the world around her dimmed as she realized the pressing complexity ahead. The moment of truth was fast approaching, and she needed to brace herself for what might come next. Would their love withstand what ambition demanded, or would it shatter under the weight of change? Jess walked into the apartment, the air heavy with unfinished conversations and unspoken expectations. She hadn't even closed the door behind her before Mike's concerned gaze met hers. The shadows beneath his eyes spoke volumes, reflecting a turmoil he couldn't quite articulate. She sensed the shift in their dynamic, a palpable tension that wrapped around them like a dense fog. "Congratulations," he offered, though the enthusiasm felt muted. His words hung in the air, a fragile truce between pride and resentment. "Thanks," Jess replied, attempting a smile that faltered at the edges. How could she celebrate when his disappointment loomed large? She wanted to leap into her news, to share her excitement and hopes for the future, but her words clashed with the reality of their moment. Would sharing this success feel like victory or betrayal? She hesitated, the weight of the email from her mentor still fresh on her mind. "Hey, we need to talk," Mike said, his tone more serious than she anticipated. The way he shifted, leaning against the kitchen counter, indicated more than just a routine discussion. He looked ready to unearth something deeper, something that had been festering in silence. "I know. I got the invitation," and Jess paused, seeking the right phrasing, her mind racing with thoughts of their future intertwined with her budding ambitions. "I'm excited. But I also know there's a lot happening between us," and Jess, he interrupted, his voice firm, cutting through her uncertainty. "It's not just about your opportunity. It's about us. I've felt you pulling away. Your ambitions are taking center stage, and I'm worried. What about my dreams?" His words pierced through her, sharper than she expected. For all the moments she had concerned herself with their relationship's equilibrium, it dawned on her that they had yet to truly confront the impact of her newfound recognition and their evolving path. "What do you want?" she asked, almost pleading, desperation mingling with anxiety. It was now or never, not confronting this would only deepen the rift. "I want to support you, but I also need to grow." Mike's expression softened slightly, and for a moment, a sliver of understanding passed between them. "I want you to grow. I truly do," he said quietly. "I just don't want you to forget about us in the process." The mention of us stung, igniting the realization that one person's trajectory could easily overshadow another's. Jess felt the familiar tug of self-doubt tightening around her chest once more. How could she lead with ambition while nurturing the relationship she valued? "I'm scared that I'll lose you in all of this," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I also can't ignore the potential this has for me. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance." "It feels like there's so much at stake now," Mike replied, his brow furrowed. "And I'm coming off a situation that knocked my confidence. Can't you see how that makes it harder for me? I feel like I should be cheering you on, not grappling with my failures." In that moment, the weight of the conversation shifted. Jess recognized that the conflict was not merely about sharing her news, it encompassed fears and insecurities that had long sat unacknowledged between them. Could she embrace her professional aspirations while actively lifting Mike rather than unintentionally pushing him away? "I want us both to succeed," Jess responded, more resolutely now. "But I also want to make sure you know that your dreams matter. How can we find a way to support each other while we navigate these paths?" His eyes flickered with uncertainty, but within that flicker, she saw a flicker of hope. They stood at the crossroads of their journeys, teetering on the brink of either shared ambition or mutual resignation. "I don't know." Mike's voice softened again, vulnerability simmering below the surface. "But maybe we can start being open about what we want without any shame." Jess nodded, the burden of unspoken expectations cracking open, lifting just a bit. Together, they would have to forge a new agreement on how to balance personal success with partnership. But as they settled into an even deeper conversation, a new fear emerged in Jess's mind. What would her mentor expect her to sacrifice for success? And, more urgently, would navigating this new terrain dissipate the very connection that brought them together in the first place? "Jess," Mike's voice broke through her thoughts. "Whatever happens, promise me we'll face it together." "Always," she breathed. As they leaned into one another, the line between ambition and connection blurred further, pregnant with possibilities yet fraught with potential risks. Yet, as their talk deepened, Jess couldn't shake the creeping sense of impending change. leaving her teetering between hope and fear. What if this conversation opened new doors or closed others irrevocably? It was this tension that lingered, one she knew they had to confront but not fully explore tonight. And with that, another message chimed on her phone. It was a new email from the mentor, a challenge that would push her further into the unknown. Would it pull them apart or forge them closer together? The answer loomed just beyond her reach. As Jessica pulled her gaze away from Mike, the weight of her mentor's message loomed larger than her sense of shared reassurance. The email nestled in the recesses of her thoughts, didn't wait for her attention, it demanded it. Another obstacle, another challenge, one that would require her to tread carefully between ambition and loyalty. Just give me a second, she said softly, stepping away from the embrace before glancing at her phone. The subject line of the email flashed under the dim kitchen light, your road ahead, embrace the change. There was little comfort to be found in those words, only a sense of urgency that gripped her heart. What long game was her mentor playing now? Mike shifted slightly, the stillness enveloping him like a shroud. She could feel his eyes on her, searching for a clue amidst her swirling thoughts. As she opened the email, a flood of adrenaline coursed through her. This could change everything. Jess? Mike prompted, his voice betraying a flicker of unease. I need to read this, she murmured, her attention anchored to the screen. The message contained a series of assignments, opportunities that could catapult Jess into a role she had only dreamed of. Yet, intertwined within the excitement was a stark reality: she would need to move cities, leaving everything she knew behind. The implications ripped through her, unraveling the fragile piece they had begun to stitch together. With every word she read, the excitement for her future clashed violently with the fears of severing ties with the familiar. Mike's presence felt increasingly precarious, a tether that held her in place while her dreams threatened to sweep her away. Jess, he began, the concern in his voice a mixture of both fear and hope. Mike, this is everything I've worked for. She interjected, the conviction stemmed from passion but laced with apprehension. She couldn't allow doubt to creep in now. There was too much at stake. I can't let this slip away, not when I've finally been recognized. Recognized, yes, he countered, the frustration woven into his words. But at what cost to us? Is success worth it if it means losing everything we've built together? His sincerity struck her deeply, tugging at the threads of her loyalty. Jess felt the walls of their relationship trembling against her escalating aspirations. This was not a simple decision anymore, it was a crucible testing the very foundation of who she was becoming and who they were together. I don't want to lose you, she admitted, her voice wavering as she tried to mask the tremor of uncertainty. But this opportunity, the weight of her ambitions, pulled her toward an unknown that promised validation, adventure, and growth. Then maybe we need to recalibrate what together means, Mike suggested slowly, his eyes now searching hers for understanding. If this is your dream, I can't stand in your way. But we both know it means reimagining what we are. What does that even look like? She challenged, an undercurrent of anxiety beginning to surface. Are you saying I should just walk away and embrace my own future? That feels like betrayal. That's not what I'm saying. He pressed, reaching out to grasp her hand tightly, grounding her amidst the chaos. I want you to soar, but I also want us to be more than a temporary anchor. If we can find a way for both of us to grow, that's a win. As they stood in the kitchen, Jess felt the precariousness of that win straining against the backdrop of her mentor's message. It wasn't simply about choosing a path, it was about determining what kind of partnership they could maintain amid such personal upheaval. Maybe we can start by talking about what we really want, she offered, her thoughts still clouded but now sparking with a cautious determination. We need to be honest about our futures. No more hiding. A flicker of hope ignited in Mike's eyes, but it was overshadowed by the uncertainty they faced. The road ahead was fraught with risks, each step a tightrope walk balancing individual growth against collective stability. But as Jess withdrew her hand, letting the conversation seep into the silence, that very thought circled back to her mentor's challenge. How could they nurture their bond while simultaneously pursuing their separate dreams? What sacrifices would be required from each of them? Hours later, Jess found herself sitting in bed, staring at the email once more, but this time with a storm brewing inside her. "I will not let fear dictate my future," she promised herself. It resonated with fiery determination, even as the darkness of uncertainty loomed above. As she scrolled through the details, something caught her eye: an optional retreat in the new city, designed for aspiring leaders. It could open new avenues for networking, help define her voice in a crowd. But, ingrained in her thoughts, questions flickered. Did accepting this mean fully severing ties with Mike? Was it a step toward strengthening their futures, or toward their downfall? Her heart raced as another email notification popped up, a reminder of just how vital the next steps would be in determining her destiny at a crossroads. The choice was far from simple. As Jess closed her laptop, she faced a stark realization: there was no clear handbook for this journey, and she would need to decide between ambition and love soon. But what if those seemingly opposing paths converged in ways she had yet to imagine? Would her pursuit of success truly risk losing the very relationships that mattered most? The door she was about to open was filled with trepidation. As doubts loomed like shadows, Jess rolled onto her side, staring into the dark and contemplating her next move. She wouldn't settle for being torn, not anymore. Would she embrace the change, or allow herself to be tethered to the past? The moment of reckoning was inching closer, and so was the pivotal decision awaiting her. The morning light flooded Jessica's bedroom, illuminating the silent echoes of her thoughts. Daybreak had nudged her from restless dreams, but neither the sun nor the faint chirping of birds brought her solace. She sat up slowly, the weight of her decisions pressing heavily on her chest. The email was still etched in her mind, a roadmap leading into an unknown future that excited her just as much as it terrified her. Her fingers brushed the laptop's touchpad, but she hesitated, her pulse hammering as questions twisted in her gut. Could she truly pursue this opportunity without losing the connection with Mike? The notion that she might hurt someone she deeply cared about gnawed at her. It wasn't just about fleeing into her ambitions, it was about facing the reality of what she might leave in her wake. She recalled Mike's words, his earnest plea for her not to abandon their relationship. But how could she stall her own growth out of fear? Closing her eyes, she visualized her career goals: leading teams, directing projects, channeling her energy into impactful work. Yet, juxtaposed with that ambition was the image of Mike, his face a mixture of pride and pain. Could their relationship evolve alongside her journey, or were they destined to drift apart like two ships on the horizon? With a renewed sense of urgency, she pulled her laptop onto her lap and opened the email once more. The retreat in the new city was framed as an incubator for leaders eager to embrace transformative roles. It wasn't merely a networking opportunity, it was a chance to learn, grow, refine her voice, and potentially carve out connections that could reshape her entire career. Jessica's heart raced as she considered the implications. She pictured herself at the retreat, surrounded by like-minded individuals, sharing ideas that could revolutionize their industries. Excitement surged within her as she thought about being in an environment that celebrated ambition and risk-taking. Yet, beneath the thrill lay a well of anxiety. The fear of failure lurked at the periphery of her thoughts. What if she didn't fit in? What if the change took her further from herself, from Mike, from everything she loved? The voices in her head battled ferociously, one urging her toward growth and the other whispering of loss. She pushed back against the tide of self-doubt, grounding herself in the knowledge of her capabilities. Each challenge she had faced so far had fortified her. She wasn't the same person who had first embarked on her professional journey. She was resilient and resourceful, nurtured by the lessons learned through trial and error. Driven by a need to confront her fears, she decided to take action. She opened a new tab and researched the retreat. Details streamed across the screen: sessions on leadership, panels with industry veterans, personal development workshops. Each morsel of information fueled her desire, painting a vivid picture of potential transformation. But before she could register, she needed clarity. Determined to avoid impulsiveness, Jessica grabbed her notebook, filling the pages with her thoughts. She listed her aspirations versus her fears, weighing them against the unwavering importance of her connection with Mike. As she surveyed her notes, a realization dawned on her. Perhaps pursuing this opportunity didn't necessitate a binary choice between ambition and love. Instead, she could forge a path that allowed both to coexist. But how could she share this vision with Mike without causing him undue pain? The clock ticked relentlessly, reminding her that she couldn't delay these conversations any longer. It was time to confront her fears head-on, to outline her intentions and desires to Mike, respecting the bond they had built while embracing the possibility of a future enriched by personal growth. With a deep breath, Jessica opened her phone and stared at the messaging app. Her fingers hovered above Mike's contact, fraught with anticipation. Would he resist her ambitions or support her quest for fulfillment? The moment felt pivotal, the nexus, where everything she desired could either flourish or falter. She still feared the unknown, but determination clenched her heart as she prepared to articulate her vision. As she typed, she felt like a tightrope walker, balancing on the edge of two worlds, unsure but undeniably aware that the next step might change everything. But what awaited on the other end of that message? Would Mike understand her quest for growth, or would he see it as a betrayal? Each second dragged like an eternity before she pressed send, wondering if this act would whisper promises of progress or provoke uncertainty into their already fragile dynamic. The afternoon sun bathed Jess in a warm glow as she paced the small living room, its familiar walls echoing her racing thoughts. The message she had sent to Mike had settled like a stone in her stomach, heavy with unspoken expectations. The vulnerability she felt was an inescapable truth of their relationship, and now, she had unwittingly exposed both her ambitions and the fears that lingered beneath the surface. When the door creaked open, Jess turned instinctively, her heart racing as Mike stepped inside. He looked both apprehensive and curious, and there was a lingering silence between them, stretched taut with anticipation. "I got your message," he said, his voice steady but layered with complexity. Jess nodded, bracing herself for the conversation that could define their paths moving forward. "I needed to talk about the retreat, the opportunity, everything," she began, her voice hovering between excitement and anxiety. Mike crossed his arms, a gesture that signified both protection and uncertainty. "You're really considering it?" "I am," she urged, the words spilling out in a rush. "This is a chance that could really launch my career. I want to be a leader in my field, and I need to embrace this. But I also know that it might change things between us." "Change can be good, Jess, but it can also break bonds," Mike countered, his eyes searching hers, trying to grasp the essence of her decision. "You've worked hard to get here, and I want you to succeed. But what happens to us in the process?" The weight of his concerns clung to the air, thick with the gravity of both success and sacrifice. Jess took a breath, grounding herself in the shared experiences that had brought them to this moment. "I've realized that I can't be true to myself without being open about my ambitions, and I don't want my success to come at the cost of your dreams. I want us both to grow together," she said forcefully. Mike's posture softened slightly as he absorbed her words. "But how do we navigate those different paths? I'm still grappling with my uncertainties. I don't want to stand in your way, yet if I decide to pursue my own dreams, what if it leads us apart?" Jess moved closer to him, a sense of urgency fueling her words. "What if we're not leading separate lives but rather finding a way to intertwine our aspirations? It won't be easy, but we can redefine together in a way that honors both our growth. We can help each other through these challenges." His brow furrowed as he processed her vision, an image of connection unfurling amidst the uncertainties of their journey. "But will you really have time for us when you dive into this new world?" "I promise I will make time," Jess said earnestly. "If we both dedicate ourselves to supporting each other, we can be each other's strongest advocates. I want to build both my career and our relationship, but I need your support, too. You're not just a part of my life, you're integral to it." "I appreciate that," he replied, a glimmer of hope weaving through his words. "But I also need to work through my own fears. What if I falter while you soar? How do I cope with that?" In that moment, Jess realized how crucial it was for them to openly discuss their insecurities. "We can't let those fears dictate our choices. Let us promise to be honest throughout this process, even when it feels tough." A silent understanding settled between them, like a warm embrace and acknowledgement that both their ambitions could coexist without diminishing one another. "You know," Mike said, a slow smile breaking through, "I do want to explore my own path. It might take time for me to feel secure in it, but I guess we're both just starting to figure out how to blend it all." "Exactly," Jess exclaimed, relief washing over her. "No more dragging our feet in uncertainty. Each step we take can propel us forward, both independently and together. Whatever we achieve, it should reflect our combined efforts." Emboldened by their mutual resolution, Jess felt a fresh wave of determination coursing through her. They began to brainstorm ideas about how to balance their professional aspirations with a fortified relationship, crafting short-term goals that included supporting one another through upcoming challenges, scheduling regular check-ins, and, most importantly, celebrating each other's victories, a mutual pact for the future. As the conversation unfolded, her fears dimmed against the rising tide of shared strength. Complex as it may be, love could adapt, evolve, and flourish alongside ambition. In the midst of their negotiation, a realization blossomed: the partnership they nurtured could serve as a cornerstone for their respective journeys. Later that evening, as they navigated the complexities of their hopes and dreams, Jess noticed the way Mike's presence anchored her in confidence and clarity. She felt renewed, ready to embrace the forthcoming adventure at the retreat without relinquishing the connection they cherished. The storm inside her had abated, lying still like water after the rain, revealing a shining opportunity that lay ahead, a testament to their growth as individuals and as a couple. Through this transformation, Jess had not only reached for her aspirations but had also learned what it meant to entwine them with love. In that moment, Jess understood her true personal achievement. She had gathered the courage to unveil her ambitions, build bridges of understanding, and redefine the contours of love and dreams within their lives. And as they cocooned in their shared space, Jess felt a profound sense of contentment, recognizing she was ready for the journey ahead. Finally ushering in a new chapter together, one where both their dreams could take flight, intertwined and fearless. Now more than ever, Jess felt a surge of inspiration within her. She grabbed her laptop one last time, eager to finalize her registration for the retreat. It was time to leap into the unknown while fully embracing the path they would navigate together. And as that new chapter unfolded, she understood the essence of fulfillment, a partnership that thrived not just in shared dreams but in the continual pursuit of reaching for the stars, hand in hand. If you believe in stories of growth and love, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional journeys. Don't wait even one more second, smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and your theories about their journey. We want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this beautiful conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.